Look at this. I have this fancy necklace on and you can't even see it. It's so funny. I feel like it's so silent today that I don't even have my mic on, but I know I do. Like, it's oddly silent. And this is exactly how we might need to be to enter into that quiet yet profound relationship that is waiting for you at your brow chakra. Your brow chakra has to do with your brain, really, truly. And I think my work these days is to help you rewire your brain. How's that? What's that? The brow chakra is where your intellect and intuition, processing your intuition, converges. Today's episode is all about that. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are just continuing our journey through your 12 chakras, and the series is brought to you by my soul yoga book and collection, the book and the journal to document your way along your findings, and my soul yoga inspiration cards. If you're just joining me, we are far along in our chakra journey. And if you've been with me all along, I really appreciate you, because when I gift you with this content and information, your work in expanding your own consciousness reverberates out into our world. So not only does this work benefit you, but it benefits all of us, really. And I think there's a real call, like a clarion call, like this cosmic call, this greater evolutionary journey call that's going out right now, that is about rethinking the way we think. And that's why there's a part of me that's like, I think these days my work is to help you rewire your brain so that you can honor this intuitive nature. This is why I teach the 11 soul senses. And so this episode, it's so funny because, I sit with spirit all the time. And before I record, I'm like going, okay, is this going to be kind of a theme, a formula that we've used before? And spirit's like, hold on to your seat. I'm like, okay, whatever. So while I'm talking to you, I'm talking with my team, my light working team on the other side, to gift you with information and deliver information. And so, yeah, I'm being a medium in this moment. I hear and pull in the wisdom that I'm receiving, and then I pass it along to you. And so I believe we can all do this. I believe, especially now at this time on the planet, we are coming to an age of evolution unlike any other before. And so if you're feeling like this kind of kinetic rub or this overwhelm or this confusion, it might be this, right, for you. So as much as I have my own kind of agenda that I want to speak to you on about the brow chakra, I'm constantly listening to where spirit wants to go with this, with an incredible team on the other side, and also here in the physical. Shout out to my amazing team. You can find my team on my website, constancemessmer.com, and see many of the people that work with me to bring this content to you. And there's some others that aren't listed. They're behind the scenes, and they are, they're involved also. But I also want to thank you, chills, all of my listeners. I value your time and our time together. I want to thank my members. At the end of this and all of my episodes, there's my list of thanks to the members that come forward and support me and this work on the YouTube channel so that I could bring it to you as best I can, right? And they have joined as members through different tiers and levels of what they get, but also just in believing that this content is worthy of support. And so thank you, members. Big shout out to members and the people that give super thanks. And people that have subscribed from the beginning. If you haven't yet subscribed, I invite you to subscribe. It really helps me, and it helps the algorithm to realize that this content's valuable. So thank you for all your participation in the ways that you share, like, follow, comment, are a member, give super thanks, things like that. I really appreciate you. And I especially appreciate when you take these lessons and incorporate them into your life. Probably that's why I really am interested in just delivering them weekly so that you can take time to breathe them in and let them work with your own awareness and energy to incorporate them into your day-to-day life. I think this is a magnanimous time to be alive on the planet. Chills, goosebumps, angels thanking me. It's an amazing time to be on the planet. Sure, there's a lot of things happening. I think every generation goes through struggles, but we're also in this kind of this revolutionary way of being, thinking, participating in the world on countless levels. And I think this is like kind of this call to wake up, right? And that is really in sync with the brow chakra. The brow chakra is just above the middle of both eyebrows, right? And some people call it the third eye. I don't like that. I don't like that saying because it's also a lot more than your clairvoyant vision that gets processed through the brow chakra. Like I said in the start of this episode, the brow chakra is about intellect because it's got so much going on with the brain, but it's also about processing your intuitive information. And so I know that sometimes you might go through moments where your awareness is ahead of your language, like you're just aware of things, you know things, you're psychically picking up things, your intuition is ripe and charged. Typically, traditionally, it's the brow chakra that is where it's all happening, the processing. You might feel clear sensation in other parts of your body, right, on or in, but it gets processed. Like, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? It gets processed through your brow chakra. And so sometimes when your awareness is ahead of your language, I want to remind you that I can help. I break your intuitive nature down. God, chills. To 11 components so that you might be empowered. Because when your 11 soul senses meets the brow chakra, you claim language to your awareness, and that is personal power. So if you haven't already, check out my website, constancemessmer.com, and check out the links that have to do with your 11 soul senses where I break them down for definition. I do have a journal available as part of, supporting my content. Anytime you make a purchase in my shop, you actually help me support that content, right? In any small ways. Your 11 Soul Senses journal is just that. It's a journal. It's not a blank notebook, though there are a lot of blank pages for you to document your experiences. But it's not a book as much as it is a journal. Sure, there are listings of the 11 soul senses, your 11 soul senses, the definitions and prompts to help you engage your 11 soul senses in your life. But currently I'm working on a book about your 11 soul senses and how to work them in your life and in our world. But in your picking up my 11 soul senses journal, I appreciate it. And because you're helping support the content, and I think it's valuable. Otherwise I wouldn't have written it. Listen, everything I do, I am very selective on what I gift out into the world because this whole refinement and process of elimination and kind of clarity and what's that word? Discernment on what I'm delivering is part of my soul's journey. It's part of solar plexus, personal power, self-esteem, who you are, what you came to do, what you promised kind of to put out into the world, right? But the solar plexus, chills, personal power is very linked to the brow chakra in that you have got to really kind of navigate what occurs and transpires in that mental plane or mental aspect of your awareness. Um, Got goosebumps. It's because I was like, "Really? We're going here? I didn't even know we're going here." And Spirit's like, they just like hug me when I listen really well. And that's what I invite you to do is really listen well. And the goosebumps are clair sensation. It's your psychic ability to feel and sense physical sensations that are from a spiritual soul nature, right? Soul to soul, this conversation communication and this ability to become aware of what does that clear sensation, what do the goosebumps mean, and going inside if you need to put your hands on your heart and ask what is this about. And I know because I'm been so familiar with the work my whole life, but really refining it in the 30 years as working as a professional to know that, oh, of course, this is them. Plus, I clairvoyantly look around and I'm like, oh, here you are. Here you are, my friends. And you're just like loving me up. So let spirit love you up, right? Let your wisdom that resides within your brow chakra um, uh, empower you for your own more profound existence. These are not just words, right? This is real. Real sinking in to your wise self that is a part of that brow chakra that is intellect and intuition, and really using that time to reflect on those moments of those experiences to empower you to what am I learning here? What's this about? What's happening here? And so there's this really inside advantage that takes place when you become mindful of differentiating your intellectual and your intuitive prowess. Like when you're choosing to make business decisions, when you're feeling scattered, these kind of things really create an opportunity for learned behavior to tune in and shift your perspective on what's happening in your mental spaces, what's happening in your mind when you have these either struggles or these insights that come to you. How did it come to you? What do I do with this struggle? What should I do with this struggle? Eyes closed, you can ask your wise self. You might get the thought or the awareness airdropped into your mind. And I invite you to differentiate, where did that thought come from? This is brow chakra. Was it an intellectual thing that I've learned and have been exposed to? Or is this an intuitive hit that I'm really supposed to take pause and kind of track? Where's this coming from? What was I just thinking? Why is this coming to me? And it's this awareness that we can shift our perspective between the intellect and the intuitive nature. Um, we're body and soul. And if you only live through your physical senses, you're missing half your life. My work is to empower you. That's my tagline. That once you start to differentiate and you realize and recognize this shift in perspective, like in this moment, do I use my intellect or do I use my intuition to source an answer to a problem or an issue that I'm having? In this moment, did that answer come to me through intellectual strains of this is learned behavior, this is wisdom, this is all those, reading material that I've stacked up in my life? Or was this out of left field and it is a intuitive hit? And what do I do with it? And how did it come to me? So I want to remind you that in the mental aspects of using your brow chakra as a power energy center, which is what it is, right? This beautiful beam of light and energy vortices, really vortex. Is this about this space is not just about clairvoyance. It's where you process, because it's your brain. You have to use your brain to kind of understand, comprehend, discern, interpret, right? Clairaudient hearing, clairvoyant seeing, clear sensation, physical feeling, clear sentiment, emotional feeling. You bring it up to the brain to process what am I feeling so emotional about? What does this have to do with? And follow the thread, right? It could be something from the other day and it's not just a memory you were thinking of, but it was an energetic that's still holding on to you. And so your brow chakra is that place that you can refine an awareness or an understanding to the experience. And it's just this shift in perspective. And when you're trying to troubleshoot your life or in business meetings or dealings or interactions, and you sit here and you think, okay, why do I feel like I want to trust this person when all the last times they were untrustworthy. So your intellect might say untrustworthy. Your intuition might say give them another chance. But I'm not asking you to stop there. I'm asking you to take it one step further and say, how does that feel to you emotionally? Whether you're using clairsentiment, emotional, psychic feeling, or personal emotions, like it doesn't feel comfortable. Why? Because they've let me down before. Okay, what can be different now? What should be different now? Oh, do I need to create boundaries or parameters, or do I need to speak up? There is no mistake that the brow chakra is by the throat chakra, right? Right before this, we've just worked on the throat chakra, trust issues, speaking your truth, communication. I'm not asking you to blindly trust people. I'm asking you to delve into what can help you build trust and rapport with another. And maybe there should be no trust, but I'm saying to differentiate when you get intuitive hits and when you actually have a history file that intellectually is telling you, listen, nothing's going to change. As much as you want it to change, it's not going to change. This is the thing. It's like, which kind of perspective do you want to go about your day? This is super duper fun. How's that? It's so Midwest, Constance. This is super duper fun to shift your perspective and say, today, I'm really just going to sink into my intuition. I'm not going to make decisions based on my intellect, past knowledge, wisdom gained from, any studies, whatever. I am going to just sink into my intuition and follow it throughout the day and try that. Wouldn't that be an interesting perspective? I think so. Listen, roundabout now, I am realizing this brow chakra episode is so different than my original one. The original one, your brow chakra, had other information. And I won't recap what that was, but I just think it's fascinating. So check it out if you haven't already. I think these two go hand in hand pretty cool in a nice way. Yeah. Yeah. I am very picky when it comes to gemstones and crystals, especially if I'm going to be wearing them as jewelry. So I want to share with you a recent find. Otter Spirit. Love, love, love their products. I'm wearing the aquamarine bracelet now. They have mini beads and they have a larger version. I've got the mini ones on. They're just so delicate and gorgeous. Love, love, love. Love so much that I'm going to share a code with you so that you can get either 20 or 30% off if you purchase with them. And guess what? Otter Spirit is so freaking cool that they are based in Monterey Bay, California, and every time you make a purchase, they donate to protect wild sea otters in Monterey Bay. Win-win, win-win-win for everyone. Love it, love it, love it. If you want to check out their website and use my link for products, you can check the show notes and you'll find it there. I hope you love their company and their product as much as I do. I'm really glad I found them. I hope you are too. So, how can you strength train this area? How can you kind of activate your brow chakra? How can you activate your brow chakra? You can activate it, engage it, turn it on, right? By tuning in. Tuning in, you know? And like I said, take the day and say, I'm going to live from my intuition and see what decisions or choices I can make from my intuitive nature using my 11 soul senses, whether it's your empathic abilities or your psychic, physical abilities, things like this. So when you sit with yourself, kind of like sit, whether that's literal, like in meditation, or mindfulness, being present to what's happening in your mental space or present in conversations or your own mind, right? Or when you're sitting with yourself kind of in reflective moments, you begin to learn and differentiate the frequency of that perspective, whether it's intellectual or intuition. You begin to develop kind of this inner rapport, right? This awareness and you learn the frequencies of where the information, helpful information, or where the answers are coming from, are not only where they're coming from, but also how answers are available through interior discourse. When you take time to sit in meditation, reflection, mindfulness of these experiences as they hit you, when you see this shift in perspective, intellectual activation or intuition activation, you can begin to kind of witness self, uh, and develop this relationship with your inner landscape. That's what I'm like, what are you guys trying to tell me? You begin to develop kind of these qualities of recognizing how your inner wisdom functions. And when you really lean into it, there's this incredible um, inner peace that can transpire because you're no longer ruled or affected by this kind of this uh, scatteredness. This is what I use. I use a slowing down process to understand any aspects for me of ADHD, any aspects of executive functioning issues. Listen, I have all of these. Personally, I think it's because I'm a creative genius, but it could be from my early trauma childhood, right? But it could also be just the way my brain functions. So, whatever, right? And so, part of it is I'm noticing when I have so much input of psychic wisdom from the various realms that I need to slow down and go, I've got to put these things in order if I want to accomplish a goal. So it is a stronger executive function for me to sit there and make lists or whatever, because I know I need to record what I have to do for a project so that I can also free that mental space to receive input from the heavens, right? Unless I just tap into the flow of it throughout my day, which is further ahead, chakras further ahead. We'll talk about doing that. But for this, what I'm trying to tell you is that when you start to recognize that this whole scattered brain or this, feel like you're losing your ground or feeling like you can't remember things and you need to create lists, sometimes it's physiological. Sometimes, I've told you this before. I had to deal with heavy metal and allergies and brain fog that had to do with physiological issues. And I told you that I'm getting magnet therapy, which is super duper cool. But there's also moments where I recognize, like, just take a moment, Con. You are these ADD or ADHD. I'm not medicated for that, but I do have moments of that. But when I'm noticing for me, so I don't know what's for you, you have to tune into what's for you, what works for you. But what I'm noticing when I'm having moments of that, maybe because I've put too much on my plate for the day, maybe because I have too much going on in my brow chakra intellectually, that I'm getting kind of anxious and overwhelmed, and I'm not feeling that sense of inner wisdom and peace because I'm not grounded in it and I'm not stable in it, because I'm popping all over the place, which is kind of what this feels like, Spirit. I have to tell you, they're like, no, go, keep going. So I recognize in the mindfulness. Remember when I said if you sit with yourself in reflection or mindfulness or being witness self-presence, or even like meditation time where you come to calm so that in any moment you can return to calm, awareness, breath, care, coming back to calm. So that when you're feeling scattered, when you're feeling like your ADHD or ADD is overwhelming you and you're like, I can't, I'm so frozen, I can't move, or I'm so hopping around like like a rabbit or whatever, that you're like, what needs to happen now? And to take that time to reflect inside and say, is it too much? Am I taking on too much? What would my intuitive nature say to me? What would my wise intuitive self say to me in this moment? Sometimes it might say, pull it together, take a break, not just get your act together. It would never, your wise self would never beat you up, right? Or neither would guides or angels. They would never beat you up, get your act together. But it could say, take a bit of a break because you're trying to process too much stuff in your mind and your mind is starting to become mind chatter, mental chatter, or scattered energy because you're taking on too much. And in those moments of mindfulness, calming the brow chakra where intellect and intuition comes together, in those moments of taking, I'm just going to take a mental break, breathe in and breathe out, close my eyes so I'm not processing my external world, breathing in, breathing out, and saying, what do I need to do next? What is for my highest good to do next? And that wisdom of intuition comes here. Sometimes it might make no sense. There's been times in my career and my life and my busy schedule between family and business and personal desires that I am like, I don't have time to go lay flat or sit in meditation. And, and Spirit's like, oh, yes, you must. Oh, yes, you do. Because if you don't, it will be a huge loss of self. And you're going to bring that scatterness into incomplete tasks and more frustration or more effort. And this is about working smarter, not harder. This is about bringing into alignment your intuition and your intellect, all here so that you don't like go, I'm too much, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going crazy. This is what I want your big takeaway to be this week. I want your big takeaway to be that you are body and soul. And this in the crown or the brow chakra, in the brow chakra is where that meets, right? Is this whole brow chakra is where your intellect and intuition meets. And your intuition, your 11 soul senses, are what guides your intuition, right? Those perspectives of your energetic world and your world with spirit and your internal and eternal nature, right? You are first and foremost light. Secondary, you are body. You just needed the body to be here like this now, right? But first and foremost, you are light, frequency, vibration. And that is the power of your 11 soul senses. And so what? Spirit, what? What? The brow chakra is all about the coming together. And it is a rewiring in that I believe you're waking up to your 11 soul senses more and more. And by honoring them, you empower yourself. And it does become kind of this rewiring of your brain now and in the days ahead so that you can maybe lead with your intuition. You know, if you follow me on social, I'm going to relist and maybe in a post on my YouTube community, the great Einstein quote, you are always supposed to lead with your intuition. You are. Goosebumps. It's your true nature. Your intellect is supposed to be subservient to your intuition. And so I'm hoping that in all these lessons that I've provided you with through my, through the Constance Messmer podcast, that I'm helping you empower your intuition, understand your intuition, trust your intuition, discern truth, work with it, for your best possible life. Truly. So lead with your intuition. Understand your brow chakra in this greater way and in the amazing coming together of your intuition and intellect. And again, it's when I speak to the fact that this is where your intuition affects the brow chakra, it's processing, it's understanding, it's comprehending every intuitive hit, except claircognizance. All of the others are processed through the brow chakra because they're processed in the brain for comprehension and use. But what I'm saying is when you get an intuitive hit, a sense, a feeling, an emotional feeling, a vision, right? No matter where that clairvoyant vision comes, dream time, overlay of an image on your physical world, an idea that's visual, all of these things. Take a moment, recognize it as an intuitive hit, process it in the brain. What is this trying to tell me? Why did it show up now? What was I thinking right before? Who's this coming from? Why is it coming? Or where is this coming from? Because many times it's our wise self, and it's just how we interact with our world on this energetic frequency, on this intuitive being that you are, right? Many times it's just you. It's just you tapping into this perspective, tuning into this perspective, right? But sometimes it's other. Sometimes it's loved ones that have crossed. Sometimes it's you picking up something from your mother-in-law from across this town. Sometimes you recognize it's your best friend struggling and you're picking it up. Sometimes it's a guide, a spirit guide. Sometimes it's an angel. Sometimes it's the divine source energy revealing something to you, for you, about you. I'm saying when you sit with yourself, and that could be literal or figurative, it's really just being present with yourself. Let me put it that way. When you're present with yourself and these interactive moments of your life or the thoughts that ruminate in your mind, and you reflect on these moments, or you are mindful of these moments, or you meditate on these moments, you learn that there's these frequencies of insight that come to you, whatever frequency that is, your wise self, angels, God, divine, loved ones, neighbor across the way, your dog, all of these things, nature, out in nature, and you realize that you can get information and answers that will come to you and are available to you when you take those moments and turn them to discourse, conversation, back and forth, right? And this predominantly then, this discourse, this conversation happens with the processing of the brain, clairaudiently, clairvoyantly, whether you're speaking it in your thoughts or you're hearing it in your mind. And these moments of mindfulness that it's happening and moments of reflection and contemplation are beneficial to enter into relationship with it so that you can develop qualities of inner peace or inner wisdom when you need it, right? When you need it. And this is what begins to happen with the brow chakra. We're going to go into the upper chakras, which are really levels of consciousness and greater understanding, and to the point of living in those spaces. I'm asking you to differentiate what's intellectual and what's intuitive when you get a thought or a feeling or an idea or an image or hear a song reflected in your mind. Stop. Awareness, breath, care, awareness that something's happening and coming to you. Take a breath, take a minute, take a moment to be with yourself. Close your eyes if you have to kind of focus in on what's happening here and care. Where's this coming from? What am I supposed to do about it? Is this for me? Is this just me pondering and chewing on things, something unfinished, or is this some message from my soul to myself, or a message from beyond for my benefit, or asking for assistance, And just remembering everything that's for your highest good will never ask you to harm yourself or others. Just won't. So, just remember that, of course. Would that bring peace? That would not bring peace. And this inner wisdom brings peace. Chills. This relationship, this greater relationship with your intuitive nature brings peace and the wisdom that it carries. So there you go. I'm asking spirit if there's more. There's always more. Yeah. I think now is the opportunity and the time to recognize that we're really meant to rewire our brains. And the way we do that is we really plug in to. I'm inviting you to really plug in. That's why I always say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning into this episode, but thanks for tuning in to your intuitive nature, to the amazing being that you are, to the incredible world that we live in, tuning in from this spiritual or with this spiritual perspective for a better life for you and our better world in general, right? Yeah. Understanding and following this innate flow of your intuition that is always happening. I'm inviting you to recognize it, guide you to a lot of things in life, next best steps. But you got to follow it, right? You got to follow your intuition and you have to honor it. You have to stop, be mindful in the moment. What's coming to me? How's it coming to me? And what am I meant to do with it? So, Spirit wants me to say this thing. The brow chakra sits between the throat chakra, which is communication, trust issues, speaking your truth, but it's also listening, deep listening, very important. And then the crown chakra, which we'll get into next time. I'm excited to be telling you about the crown chakra because it opens up to the higher realms. That's my jam. So your perspective is meant to shift. That's how you activate your brow chakra. Honor what your experiences gift you with and discern whether it's an intellectual thing or an intuitive thing. That's the brow chakra. Thanks for tuning in.